When you go into Google Ads, you sometimes find that your campaigns have a limited status. Sometimes when Google tells you something, you have to approach it with caution, but sometimes you should actually listen. So today we're going to go through and understand what it means by your campaign statuses being limited. We're going to dive into the reasons Google has given your campaigns a limited status, explain to you when to listen to them, when not to listen to them, and the implications of continuing on with a limited status and what it means for your campaigns. So first of all, what does limited even mean? Well, limited means only one thing on Google Ads, and it basically means Google could spend more. Now, there are 4 different types of limited status, but in all 4 occasions, what it essentially boils down to is Google could spend more. Now, whether they should spend more and whether you could benefit from them spending more is the question. So let's get into it, because these 4 limited statuses are going to tell you the answer as to which camp you are in. The 4 limited statuses to be aware of are if your campaigns are limited by budget, limited by the target, limited by the bid strategy, or limited by your search volume. In all cases, Google is telling you your campaign is limited and they could spend much more money, hopefully driving you more results. But what do each of these limited statuses actually mean, and what are the implications of listening to Google in each case? Let's start off with limited by budget. It's quite an obvious one. If you're limited by budget, Google will apply this label to your campaigns, and basically it means you could increase your budget and therefore increase how much you spend on Google Ads, hopefully increasing your traffic, increasing your clicks, increasing your conversions as well. So essentially, money in, leads go up is what Google is trying to say. You put more money in, your leads should increase. But is this always the case? Well, if all things being equal means you don't touch your bid strategy and you continue on with a target CPA or some kind of limiting factor that will hold back Google from going absolutely crazy and spending all your money and making your campaign inefficient, then it's a good thing to do to increase your budget. Because in theory, if you've set your target CPA in line with your business goals and you're using a smart bidding strategy, increasing your budget will only go as far as your CPA target will let you. Your CPA target acts as a guardrail to stop Google from going crazy. So even if you set your budget to $50,000 a day, that CPA target will hold the campaign back, because at the end of the day, Google has to try and achieve that target. Whether they do or not depends on performance, but ultimately it's not going to spend $50,000 a day if it cannot get your target CPA in place. Obviously don't do that. Don't set your budget at $50,000 a day. But of course, if Google is telling you your campaign budget is limited status, then you can increase your budget, and in theory, you should be able to gain incremental sales as a result of doing that. And the worst that can happen is that you just don't spend the money you put in, because Google is giving you this status is a potential for you to increase your volume as long as you have a target CPA or target ROAS in place to hold Google back, to stop them from going crazy. This is absolutely fine. You can increase your budget in this scenario. And it's okay to listen to Google as long as your business can take on the additional leads that come from the back of the increased budget. But what about when you're limited by the bidding target? Now, this is a completely different story. As I said with budget, Google's giving you advice that I think generally speaking is okay to follow if you're looking to increase the number of leads you're generating. However, if you're limited by your bidding target, well, Google's basically telling you the CPA that you've set is limiting how much Google can spend. Now, this is okay, because ultimately your CPA target should be tied to your business goals. If you can only pay $50 for a lead because you know when those leads come in, how many you convert into a sale is X percentage, working backwards from that point, paying $50 a lead is the most you can pay. Google telling you that your status is limited should be meaningless. Google doesn't know your internal workings of your business. They don't understand what it costs you to bring customers in, how much you're closing business, and what a sale is actually worth to you. They just know that by having a CPA target where you've set it, they could spend more. So by increasing your CPA target, you're taking away that limited by target status. If you're happy to pay a little bit more for your leads, you can move that target if you need to. If you go from a $50 CPA target to a $60 CPA target, by doing that, Google will open your campaign up to more auctions. You're going to get more volume, and hopefully off the back of that, you will get more conversions because of that target limitation being removed. But again, whether you should do this or not is completely down to your business model. Don't listen to Google if your status is limited and you're comfortable with where your CPA target is sitting. Ignore them. The other limited status I want to talk about is limited by strategy. So in Google Ads, you have a number of bid strategies to choose from, which achieve different goals in your campaigns. If you want to maximize clicks, Google will try and give you as many clicks as it can for your budget. Target impression share will try and achieve a certain level of visibility in line with your target impression share percentage. Target CPA will try and bring your leads in at a certain cost that you set with a CPA target. And target ROAS, return on ad spend, will try and bring in a return on your money spent on Google based on how much revenue your campaign is generating as a percentage. So all of these strategies basically have a hierarchy. Google says you're limited by strategy if you are too low in what they consider as your hierarchy. So let's work backwards from there. If you're a maximize clicks and you're tracking conversions, Google will tell you that you're limited by strategy because you're not using a conversion-based strategy. So moving from maximize clicks to target CPA, Google will see that as an increase in your strategy in that hierarchy I talked about. Being top of the tree is target ROAS, below that you have target CPA, and then below that you kind of have maximize clicks and target impression share, and the very bottom is manual CPC. The lower down the tree you are, the more Google will tell you that you are limited by your strategy. So say for example, you are tracking conversions in your account, but you're also tracking conversion values as well. If you're on target CPA, which is a non-value based bidding strategy, it's based on a conversion, Google will tell you they can see the conversion value coming through as well. And they'll tell you that you're limited by bid strategy because you're not on target ROAS. You're not doing value based bidding because in their hierarchy, target ROAS is the very top of the tree, and even on target CPA, where you are tracking conversions successfully and optimizing towards a conversion return, they want you to move up the tree towards ROAS because that's dealing with what they perceive is real revenue. But the question of whether you should do this again depends on your campaign goals. I've talked about leads gen before, where it comes to conversion value. Unless you're uploading real conversion values from an offline sale, adding arbitrary conversion values can sometimes be a bit of a hindrance more than a help. Sometimes Google just doesn't have the right kind of data or variance in the values you give a conversion to bid effectively towards a ROAS, which is why I always advise for leads gen businesses who are not uploading conversion data from offline in terms of the real true value of a sale, I advise them to stick to target CPA. It's much more simple, you get way more data, and Google can basically optimize a bit better in my experience. However, if you're uploading conversions and you're doing offline sales and you have the ability to upload your conversions from a CRM system, I would advise you to, yes, absolutely move to a ROAS strategy and test that out if you're using real monetary values. And of course, for e-commerce people, come on, use ROAS. Generally speaking, in e-commerce, if you have enough conversion data and you're tracking values, you should be testing out target ROAS. And finally, we have limited by search volume. Now, this is quite a relatively new status that came around maybe a couple of years ago. And what it basically means is Google is telling you that your campaigns are low search volume. And the way to remedy that, of course, is to potentially change your keyword match type to broad match. But should you do this? I think you know my answer to this question. Now, if your campaign is limited by volume and you're happy with the way the campaign is performing, your traffic quality is amazing, but generally speaking, your industry is a low volume industry, it's quite a low volume niche, then you're probably in a good place. You don't necessarily need to listen to Google in this case. You just continue running your campaign as you're supposed to, and that's fine. You could potentially test moving to broad match, but be aware that your traffic quality will decline, and if you're in a particularly narrow niche, it could harm the performance of your campaign because the broad match system does not have the data available to essentially optimize well towards your goals because your niche is so narrow. Keep that in mind. But if you're getting way more conversions and you have plenty of conversion data in quite a big niche, it is definitely worth testing broad match. I've seen great results coming in from broad match in many campaigns I've managed over the last couple of years, and it has improved. I would definitely not have been an advocate for broad match maybe 5 years ago for sure, but in the last year at least, it's been amazing for some of the campaigns I look after. So I think it's worth testing. You can set up experiments to do this. You can test it in a segmented way across the different ad groups in your campaigns to kind of see what happens, but it's worth testing. And if you're limited by your volume, and you're in an industry where you're getting plenty of conversions, I think it's worth trying it. So when Google is telling you that your campaigns are limited, it depends completely on your individual scenarios. Don't just look at the label and see a yellow or red warning label and assume you have to take action. Take a step back, listen back to what I said in this video, and make a decision based on the best thing for your business and for your campaigns. If you like this video, please like it. Please let me know in the comments whether or not you even care about limited statuses, or maybe you've taken action and you've turned it around, got rid of the limited status and things have improved. Let me know in the comments, and then I'll see you guys on the next video.